last candle in the greatest cathedral on earth burns at midnight. Outside, 80,000 soldiers wait in silence. Inside, 7,000 men kneel on cold stone and pray. Every single one of them knows what the dawn will bring. May 28th, 1453. The city of Constantinople, capital of an empire that has stood for 1,123 years, has 12 hours left to exist. The man in the purple robe standing before the altar is not merely an emperor. He is the last Roman emperor on earth, the last unbroken thread connecting the living world to the Rome of Augustus, of Constantine the Great, of Justinian. And tonight, he stands in the building where every emperor since the 6th century has communed with God. Outside those walls, a 21-year-old sultan surveys his camp from a command post on the hill. He commands 69 cannons. He commands the most sophisticated military machine the medieval world has ever assembled. And he has been dreaming of this moment since childhood. What unfolds in the next 12 hours will not merely end a city. It will end an age. This is the last night of a 1,000-year empire, reconstructed hour by hour from eyewitness chronicles, military accounts, and the stones of Constantinople itself. The city still standing on the evening of May 28th is not what it once was. Walk its streets and you find silence where there should be noise. A Constantinople in 1453 is a ghost wearing the architecture of a dead civilization. At its peak, 1 million people filled these streets. Tonight, fewer than 50,000 remain. Gardens grow in the middle of what were once grand boulevards. Churches that served thousands now serve dozens. Entire neighborhoods stand abandoned, reclaimed by weeds and wind. But the walls are perfect. The triple walls of Theodosius, 3 concentric lines of stone, built in 413 AD, 1,040 years before this night, 60 feet high, 17 feet thick, protected by 96 towers. Every army that has ever attempted to break through has failed. The Avars, the Bulgars, the Arabs, the Crusaders who took the city from within. The walls have never been breached by force. Tonight, those walls are manned by 7,000 men. 7,000 against 80,000. And every man who stands at his post knows the arithmetic is impossible. They stay anyway, because this is not merely a city. It is Rome, the direct, unbroken successor of the Rome of the Caesars. When Constantine the Great moved his capital east in 330 AD, he named this place the New Rome. The empire governing from these walls still calls itself the Roman Empire. Its emperor still holds a title stretching back 1,500 years through unbroken succession. For these men, surrender is not defeat. It is erasure. Constantine XI. Palaiologos understands this at a depth no one around him fully grasps. He is a soldier emperor in a city that has not needed soldier emperors for a century. He has spent 3 years begging Western Europe for help. Letters to the Pope, letters to Venice, letters to Hungary. Polite replies. 0 soldiers. Tonight, Constantine does something that stuns everyone in his court. He summons his nobles, his generals, his Venetian merchants, his Genoese allies, on every commander and priest who can fit in the room. He does not give a battle speech, he asks for forgiveness. Personally, he goes to each man and asks whether he has ever wronged them. He is not preparing to fight, he is preparing to die. Then he leads the city in one final procession. Thousands of citizens line the streets holding candles. Priests carry icons through the twilight. From every church in Constantinople, bells ring simultaneously, a sound that has not filled this city since the last great siege, decades before. The procession moves toward Hagia Sophia, the greatest church on earth, 182 feet from floor to apex of dome. Interior so vast that when Emperor Justinian first stepped inside in 537 AD, 916 years before this night, he reportedly spread his arms and said, "Solomon, I have surpassed thee." Tonight, candles fill every surface. Gold mosaics catch and multiply the light. The dome appears to float untethered above the crowd pressing in from the streets. And here, something remarkable happens. For centuries, the Latin Church of Rome and the Greek Orthodox Church have been formal enemies, split by the Great Schism of 1054, separated by theology, by politics, by centuries of accumulated mistrust. Tonight, Catholic priests and Orthodox priests pray together. Venetians and Genoese kneel side by side. Enemies in faith, or rivals in commerce, united in this moment by something that overrides every division. They all understand this is the final time. The service lasts for hours. Constantine takes communion at the altar of Justinian. Every man who can reach it does the same. They are not praying for victory. They are saying goodbye to a world. At the end of the service, Constantine XI leaves Hagia Sophia. He rides to the land walls, to the section near the Gate of Saint, Romanus, the most battered stretch of wall, the point where Ottoman cannons have been slamming stone for 53 consecutive days. His generals beg him to command from a safer position. He refuses. He takes his place on the wall. He looks out into the darkness beyond the city. Out there in the plain, 80,000 men are already in motion. The Ottoman camp has been the loudest place on earth for 53 days. 69 cannons firing in rotation. Cannonballs weighing up to 1,200 pounds. The sound audible 50 miles away. The earth inside Constantinople trembling with every impact. The walls cracking, crumbling, patched at night by defenders too exhausted to sleep. Tonight, silence. Mehmed II orders every cannon to stop. Complete silence across the full Ottoman line. No drums, no voices. Thousands of torches dark. To the defenders on the walls, that silence is more terrifying than any cannon. Mehmed II has been planning this campaign his entire life. Born in 1432, Sultan at 12, briefly deposed, Sultan again at 19. He studied the walls of Constantinople as a child. He commissioned a Hungarian engineer named Urban to build a cannon specifically designed to breach walls that nothing else could touch. When the Byzantine emperor tried to hire Urban first, he could not match what Mehmed offered. The largest cannon in the medieval world was built for one purpose: these walls. Mehmed arrived outside Constantinople on April 6th. The siege has lasted 53 days. The city has endured longer than anyone predicted. It has endured because of one man, Giovanni Giustiniani, a Genoese military commander of extraordinary skill. When a wall section collapses, his men are there to rebuild before the next assault. When a breakthrough threatens, Giustiniani is there personally to seal it. He is the organizing intelligence behind a defense that has defied every mathematical prediction. But mathematics does not yield to courage indefinitely. 7,000 men cannot sustain this. They have been fighting, repairing, fighting again for 53 days without relief. Some have not slept more than a few hours at a stretch for weeks. On the Ottoman side, vast reserves rotate in fresh and rotate out to rest. The forces are not matched in skill. They are separated by sheer, inescapable mass. At midnight, the Ottoman camp comes alive. Silently at first. Then the drums ignite. Not war drums, ceremonial drums. The rolling sound of Islamic prayer spreads across the entire line, from the Sea of Marmara to the Golden Horn. Tens of thousands of torches flare simultaneously. From the walls, the defenders see a horizon of fire surrounding their city on 3 sides. Mehmed has positioned his forces with precision. The irregular troops, recruited from every edge of the empire, poorly armed, poorly trained, go first. Their orders are not to breach the walls. Their orders are to exhaust the defenders. Every arrow they absorb, every sword stroke they force, is energy drained from the 7,000 standing watch. Behind them, the Anatolian regulars, better equipped, better disciplined. Their assignment is to find any weakness the first wave has exposed. And behind them, or held in reserve, the Janissaries, the elite force of the Ottoman Empire. Men taken as children from Christian families across the Balkans, raised from infancy as warriors, trained for nothing except combat. They carry the finest weapons. They hold the finest armor. They have not been deployed yet tonight. They are fresh. They are waiting. At approximately 1:30 in the morning on May 29th, the horns sound. The first wave breaks against the walls. What follows is a violence that strains description. The irregular troops charge with ladders through darkness, screaming. The Byzantine defenders pour Greek fire, drop stones, fire arrows without pause. For 2 hours, the outer wall holds. The first wave dies in enormous numbers against stone that has outlasted every enemy for 11 centuries. Mehmed watches without expression. He expected this. The second wave advances. The Anatolian regulars strike harder, more organized. They concentrate on sections where the cannons have left the wall barely standing, gaps plugged with barrels, rubble, anything the defenders could find. Giustiniani moves between crisis points, organizing counterattacks, closing breaches by force of will as much as force of arms. The defenders are beyond exhaustion. They have been fighting for 3 hours without pause. But the walls hold. And then, in the darkness of the northern wall, in a section that has stood without incident all night, a group of Ottoman soldiers stumbles upon something no one planned for. A small gate, the Kerkoporta. A postern door, ancient, almost forgotten, used for centuries for supply runs. It is unlocked. 50 men push through, then 100. The crack opens into a breach. The first Ottoman banner rises above the inner wall of Constantinople. A sound rolls down the Ottoman line, the first true cry of triumph in 53 days. The defenders on the outer walls see the banner, and then Giovanni Giustiniani falls. A bolt, crossbow, or perhaps early firearm, historians still dispute, finds the gap in his armor. Giustiniani's men move to carry him from the wall. He does not resist. Constantine reportedly reaches him in those seconds, begs him to stay, to hold the position for just a little longer. Giustiniani refuses. The greatest defender of Constantinople is carried toward the harbor. Now, every Byzantine soldier on that wall watches him go. For 53 days, Giustiniani has been the living proof that the wall can hold. He has been the daily evidence, in flesh and blood and tactical genius, that 7,000 men can stop 80,000. When he leaves the wall, he takes that proof with him. The Janissaries begin to move. For the first time in the battle, the elite force Mehmed has held in reserve flows forward. Disciplined, deliberate, moving at a controlled pace toward the wall. They carry ladders. They carry the accumulated momentum of warriors who have watched others die for hours while they waited. They hit the Kerkoporta breach and 3 other points simultaneously. The defenders fight with the ferocity of men who know exactly what they are defending. Some die at their posts without retreating. Some are pushed back into the streets. Some simply stare at the banner on the inner wall and cannot move. Constantine XI sees what is happening from his position on the outer wall. He removes his imperial regalia, the purple cloak that marks him as Roman emperor, heir to 1,500 years of unbroken imperial succession. He lets it fall. He takes a sword with no imperial markings, a shield with no imperial markings. He becomes, in that gesture, a nameless soldier in a city full of nameless soldiers. He has decided he will not be captured as emperor. He will die as a man. He charges into the breach where the fighting is thickest. What happens to Constantine XI Palaiologos in the next minutes is one of history's most carefully debated mysteries. Byzantine accounts give one version. Ottoman accounts give another. What every historical source agrees on is this: no one ever found his body. The last Roman emperor disappears into the final chaos of the battle, and the world never sees him again. At approximately 5:30 in the morning, as the first grey light of May 29th touches the horizon over the Bosphorus, the Ottoman standard rises fully above the walls of Constantinople. The sun has not yet cleared the horizon. The assault begins to spill into the streets. Inside Hagia Sophia, where, hours ago, an emperor and 7,000 men took their final communion beneath the floating dome, the massive bronze doors are broken open. The people who had crowded inside through the night, believing that God would protect the holiest church on earth, are taken prisoner. The gold mosaics gaze down on scenes Justinian could not have imagined. At midday, Sultan Mehmed II enters the city on a white horse. He is 21 years old. He rides through gates that no invader has passed through by force in 11 centuries. He passes streets where the initial period of looting is already underway. 3 days, the ancient military custom offered when a city refuses surrender terms. And he rides directly to Hagia Sophia. He dismounts at the doors. He reaches down, takes a handful of earth, and pours it over his own head. A gesture of humility before God, a signal to his troops, a statement to history. He walks inside. He stands beneath the dome that Justinian built. He orders it converted to a mosque before the day ends. A muezzin ascends to the peak of the structure and calls the call to prayer for the first time. The sound travels across a city that is no longer what it was 12 hours ago. Mehmed is later recorded standing in the ruins of the Great Palace, surveying fallen columns and mosaic floors thick with dust. A Byzantine scholar who survived the fall recorded what the Sultan whispered, a verse of Persian poetry. The spider weaves the curtains in the palace of the Caesars. The owl calls the watchers in the towers of Afrasiab. A 21-year-old conqueror, alone in a ruin, reciting a poem about the impermanence of empires. He understood precisely what he had done. The news travels faster than anyone expects. A Venetian ship escapes the harbor in the chaos of the final assault. It sails west through the Dardanelles. Within weeks, it carries the fall of Constantinople to Venice, to Rome, to Florence, to the courts of Western Europe. The reaction is not military. It is not a crusade. It is, after the initial shock, negotiation. Within months, Venetian merchants are signing new trade agreements with Mehmed II. This is the first indicator of what the fall of Constantinople truly means, beneath the grief and the pageantry of loss. It is not the end of commerce, it is the transformation of commerce. The Ottoman Empire now controls the critical land routes between Europe and Asia, the arteries through which spices, silk, and porcelain have flowed westward for centuries. Every trader who wants goods from the east must now pass through Ottoman territory, and the Ottomans charge tariffs, heavy ones. The goods that were already expensive become economically catastrophic for European merchants. The trading cities of Italy, Venice, Genoa, Florence, face a slow financial strangulation they cannot solve by force. They need another route, a route that bypasses Ottoman territory entirely, a route that goes around. This pressure, born directly from the fall of Constantinople in 1453, becomes the single most powerful economic driver behind what history will later call the Age of Exploration. 39 years after the fall of Constantinople, a Genoese sailor funded by the Spanish crown sails west instead of east. 44 years after the fall, a Portuguese navigator rounds the southern tip of Africa and reaches India by sea. The maps of the known world transform beyond recognition. But there is a second consequence, one that travels not in ships, but in manuscripts. When Constantinople fell, its scholars fled. They fled toward Italy, and they did not flee empty-handed. They carried books, Greek texts that Western Europe had not read in centuries. Plato, Aristotle, Homer, not in Latin translations, but in the original Greek. These scholars carried with them direct access to the intellectual tradition of ancient Athens, art preserved and elaborated through 11 centuries of Byzantine scholarship. They arrived in Florence. The Medici funded their work. The manuscripts they brought seeded what would become the Renaissance. The fall of a city on May 29th, 1453, an act of pure military destruction, simultaneously launched two of the most transformative movements in all of human history. The medieval age was over. The age of exploration and the age of reason were beginning. Neither could have happened the way they did without the fall of Constantinople. No one standing in the burning streets that morning could see any of that. They saw only the smoke and the soldiers and the banner over the dome. And yet, even in that destruction, something essential refused to die. Walk into Hagia Sophia today and look up. The dome Justinian built in 537 AD is still there, 182 feet above the floor. The same dome that glowed with 1,000 candles on the night of May 28th. The same dome beneath which Constantine XI took his last communion. It has survived earthquakes. It has survived fires. It has survived the conversion from cathedral to mosque to museum to mosque again. It has survived sieges, revolutions, and the fall of two empires. It refuses to fall. The Byzantine Empire ended on May 29th, 1453. But what it created did not end with it. The legal traditions of Rome are carried and elaborated by Byzantine scholars across 11 centuries, became embedded in European law. The legal concepts underlying justice in democratic nations today, presumption of innocence, rules of evidence, the structure of the court, trace roots through Byzantine Constantinople back to Justinian's great legal codification of the 6th century. The Greek Orthodox Church survived. Mehmed II, contrary to what might be expected, granted the Patriarch of Constantinople official status within the Ottoman imperial system. The church that Constantine XI prayed in on his final night continued to exist, continuing to exist to this day. And Greek scholars scattered from the fallen city across the Italian peninsula, carrying texts that Western Europe had forgotten. Their arrival in Florence produced the greatest intellectual revival in European history. The thread from the burning city to the paintings of Leonardo, into the mathematics of Galileo, to the foundations of modern science, that thread is real and traceable and runs directly through the night of May 28th. Mehmed II himself proved this truth in the way he governed. He called himself Caesari Rum, Caesar of Rome. He invited the Venetian painter Gentile Bellini to his court to paint his portrait. He collected maps with obsessive fascination. He studied Greek philosophy. The man who ended one civilization spent the rest of his life absorbing everything that civilization had produced. He was not demolishing Roman civilization. He believed he was inheriting it. Consider what 1123 years actually means as a span of human time. Today, 1123 years ago is the year 903 AD. Everything between that year and this moment, the Crusades, the Black Death, the Renaissance, the printing press, the scientific revolution, the Industrial Revolution, every world war, every technological revolution, everything, all of that fits inside the lifespan of the empire that ended in a single night. And yet, in those 12 final hours, something remarkable was chosen. The scholars who fled carrying manuscripts could have fled empty-handed. They chose to carry books through a burning city because they believed those words mattered more than gold or silver or their own comfort. They chose transmission over survival. They were right. May 28th, 1453 begins with an emperor asking forgiveness. It ends with a conqueror whispering a poem about fallen empires to empty walls. Between those two moments, 12 hours that compressed 1,000 years into a single night, every empire that has ever existed believed it would last forever. Rome believed it. Byzantium believed it. The men and women inside those walls in 1453 had never known a world without their empire. It had stood for 40 generations before them, and they could not conceive of the morning after it was gone. And yet, the walls that stopped every army for 11 centuries fell in 3 hours, once a small, forgotten gate was left unlocked. All of history is, in some way, a Kirk-Porter story. The thing that ends the great structure is rarely the force hammering at the gates. It is the small, unlocked door that no one remembered to check. The tiny vulnerability inside, the invulnerable thing. Constantine XI understood this. When he removed his purple cloak and charged nameless into battle, he was not acting without reason. He was making a declaration that some things are worth dying for, not because dying protects them, but because how you face the end defines the meaning of what you built. His body was never found. Mehmed II reportedly searched for it, wanting to give the last Roman emperor a proper burial. He never succeeded. Legends formed immediately after 1453. They said Constantine did not die, that he was transformed into marble, the marble emperor, sleeping inside the walls of Constantinople, waiting for the moment when he will wake and reclaim his city. The legend was believed for centuries. It was believed by people who understood, without needing anyone to explain it, that some things simply refuse to fully end. The dome of Hagia Sophia still rises above Istanbul. The manuscripts the scholars carried are still readable. And somewhere in the architecture of justice in democratic societies around the world, in courts, in laws, in the presumption that every person deserves a fair hearing before judgment, there are threads running back through Byzantine Constantinople, through Roman law, through the civilization that lit its last candles on the night of May 28th and chose, in its final hours, not to run. The last emperor died. The empire ended. But the 1,000 years of what it created, that proved impossible to kill. Think about that the next time you stand inside something you believe is permanent. The walls you trust most are never the ones built from stone. They are built from what you chose to carry with you when everything else was falling. What would you carry?